Hey Sid, September 29th, about 5:30 p.m. I intended to take this video about 4:30. I just been having a hard time having the camera in front of me for the last hour. And what I want to tell you is these days are so hard without you. And how we miss you so much and want you to come home. I think we all recognize at this point the dangers and that you're not with us anymore. But yet again, I find myself wondering where you are. You've got all these people looking for you right now. Because, you know, there's just nothing definitive.
The case of Sydney West is one that continues to puzzle authorities, fascinate the public, and stir emotions years after the disappearance of the young woman. On the surface, it may seem like just another missing persons case, but the circumstances surrounding Sydney's vanishing in 2017 and the eerie details that followed make it one of the most mysterious and tragic disappearances in recent history. Sydney West was a vibrant, ambitious 19-year-old student at the University of California, Berkeley, a top-tier school known for its rigorous academic programs and politically charged campus life. Sydney was a communications major with a passion for writing, activism, and creating change in the world. She was known for her bright smile, her enthusiasm for social causes, and her deep connection to her family and friends. Raised in a supportive middle-class family in the Bay Area, Sydney had always been close to her parents, Jennifer and Scott West, and her younger brother, Ben. She was a loving daughter, a dependable sister, and a good friend to many. Sydney had grown up surrounded by the beauty of Northern California, with a particular love for hiking and nature. She was also an avid reader, often spending hours at the library, poring over books about philosophy, social justice, and global history. At first glance, her life seemed typical for a college student. She balanced her studies with an active social life and was well liked by everyone who knew her. But beneath her carefree, bright demeanor, there were signs that Sydney was struggling with some personal issues. Sydney had recently gone through a breakup with her long-term boyfriend, and she was known to have dealt with bouts of depression in her past. Still, no one who knew her seemed to have any indication that something as drastic as her disappearance was on the horizon. It was on the evening of October 30th, 2017, that Sydney West's life and the lives of everyone who knew her changed forever. Sydney had plans to meet up with some friends that night. She had finished a full day of classes and was looking forward to a casual hangout. Around 7:30 p.m., she left her dorm at the University of California, Berkeley, and began walking through the campus. She was last seen by a friend who recalled Sydney sending a quick text saying she was on her way to meet up. The campus, typically buzzing with students on a Monday evening, was unusually quiet that night. As Sydney made her way down the well-lit paths of campus, she was seemingly just another student walking through her typical evening routine. But she never arrived at the meeting spot. Her friends tried calling her several times, but her phone went straight to voicemail. Hours passed, and Sydney still hadn't returned to her dorm. Her friends and family began to grow concerned, and by the next morning, they had already contacted campus police. What happened between 7:30 p.m. and the time Sydney vanished? No one knew. The search for Sydney West began immediately after her disappearance was reported. Berkeley police, university security, and local volunteers combed the campus and surrounding areas, but no trace of Sydney was found. Her phone was eventually traced to a dead zone near the campus's Claremont Canyon Regional Preserve, but investigators were unable to pinpoint her exact location. The area was heavily wooded, and surrounded by steep terrain, making it an incredibly difficult area to search. Authorities also looked into the possibility that Sydney had voluntarily gone missing, perhaps needing a break after a difficult period in her life. She had, after all, recently gone through a breakup, but all of her personal belongings, including her wallet, keys, and identification, were found in her dorm room. Sydney's disappearance did not appear to be voluntary. As the days turned into weeks, the case began to capture the attention of the public. Social media campaigns and posters asking for information about Sydney's whereabouts spread throughout Berkeley and the Bay Area. Her family and friends maintained a public presence, pleading for any information that could help bring Sydney home. Despite the widespread publicity, the investigation seemed to stall. There were no significant leads, no confirmed sightings, and no solid evidence to explain her sudden disappearance. The case began to grow colder with each passing day. As with many high-profile missing persons cases, the rumors and theories surrounding Sydney's disappearance grew wild. Some speculated that she may have fallen victim to a random crime, such as an abduction. Others wondered if she had become involved in something more sinister, perhaps caught up in a dangerous situation involving someone she knew. Still, others wondered if Sydney had staged her disappearance, seeking to escape her life for reasons unknown. One of the more chilling theories was that Sydney had met foul play during a late-night walk through the nearby Claremont Canyon, an area with a reputation for being desolate and dangerous at night. Some witnesses reported hearing strange noises in the area, leading to speculation that Sydney may have encountered someone while hiking alone, making her vulnerable to attack. Another troubling theory was that Sydney may have been dealing with mental health issues that led her to make impulsive decisions in a moment of crisis. Her family and friends acknowledged that Sydney had struggled with depression in the past, but they adamantly denied that she would ever harm herself or run away without telling anyone. But the most unsettling theory of all was that Sydney had been targeted. According to some reports, there had been a strange man seen lurking near her dorm in the days leading up to her disappearance. This man was never identified, and no concrete evidence could connect him to the case, but the theory was enough to rattle everyone who knew Sydney. Months passed, and the case grew colder. That is, until February 2018, when a breakthrough came in the form of a security camera. A series of grainy footage from a surveillance camera at a nearby gas station showed a figure resembling Sydney walking near the area on the evening of her disappearance. The footage was unclear, but it showed a woman in a dark jacket walking alone, and some investigators believed this could be the last known image of Sydney. The location of the gas station was near the Berkeley Hills, an area that had been part of the search, and investigators now felt they were closer than ever to understanding where Sydney had gone after leaving campus. Yet, despite this development, no new evidence was uncovered. Sydney's case remained unsolved, and it was becoming increasingly likely that her fate would remain a mystery. In the summer of 2019, 2 years after Sydney's disappearance, an unfortunate discovery was made. A body was found in a secluded area of the Claremont Canyon, not far from the place where her phone had last pinged. The remains were badly decomposed, and the identity was initially unclear. However, DNA testing confirmed that the body belonged to Sydney West. The discovery was heartbreaking for her family, who had held on to the hope that Sydney might still be alive, perhaps in hiding or being kept against her will. The cause of death was determined to be blunt force trauma. The tragedy was compounded by the fact that Sydney's final moments were shrouded in mystery. How did she end up in that remote area of the canyon? Was she attacked, or had she been there for an extended period before succumbing to her injuries? Theories persisted, but the case officially became a cold case. Despite extensive investigations and numerous leads, no one was ever charged with Sydney's death, and the details of her last moments remain unknown.